I want to address this issue for a minute because, as you guys know, if you've listened to this show for any length of time, my purpose with doing this show is to spread the message of liberty. I happen to be a libertarian, but I'm not overly focused on growing the Libertarian Party. I think it would be great to have another party that was a legitimate party other than Democrats or Republicans. But I'm not here to make you want to vote libertarian. And the only reason I'm talking about voting, period, is kind of because we're in an election cycle. But one of the things that I do want to do is spread the message of liberty. And the way I've chosen to do that is by coming out every day and using news stories that we have and trying to explain the libertarian idea or the liberty idea. How would we deal with these? And I have five basic principles that I kind of base my decisions on and base my belief system on. And the five principles are individualism, peace, tolerance, free markets, and limited government. Those are the five principles. And I think that if we get to a point where we're principle based and we're asking, okay, how does my decision or how does my opinion about this specific issue, how does that conform to my principles? That will go a lot farther. That will become a lot more grounded in what we believe. That it'll be easier to explain to others when we can show them, listen, what you're advocating for doesn't coincide or doesn't jive with your principles. Because no one wants to be a hypocrite. But our movement, if you can call it that, is not short of intellectuals. There's no shortage of great men like Lou Rockwell, Murray Rothbard, who's no longer with us, Matt Kibbe from Freedom Works, or he used to be at Freedom Works. Now he's not. He wrote that great book, Don't Hurt People and Don't Take Their Stuff. Tom Woods. Incredible men. Incredible minds. We're inundated with those kinds of folks. They're everywhere inside of our movement. And there's a lot of people inside of the liberty movement who have professed libertarian ideas who like to pretend that they're intellectuals. There's no shortage of people that I run into who are trying to explain to me how I'm wrong about some principle of liberty that I hold. Only to find out when we dig just past the surface that they really don't know what they're talking about. But if you talk to a libertarian, boy, they know. They got it all figured out. And you're the one who's screwed up. And you're the one who's not a real libertarian. Right? All this infighting. Everybody out trying to outsmart each other. Everybody talking about this mythical world where we're going to build the roads and here's how it'll work and here's how a society with no cops would work and here's how a society with no government and no court system would work. I'm not suggesting to you folks that all of that isn't possible. What I'm telling you is those are discussions that don't relate to the audience you're trying to reach. This is an important point, so listen to me carefully. A very good copywriters, a salesman, a copywriter is nothing more than a salesman who writes his sales message down on paper. And so everything that you read in a magazine, every advertisement, every commercial you listen to, somebody wrote the words down that they're on the page or that particular actor or actress or voiceover specialist read. Somebody wrote all that down. And they call those guys advertising copywriters. And one of the most important things that a good copywriter knows is that you want to enter the conversation that your prospect is already having in their own mind. That's where you want to go. Got back pain? Question mark. That's immediately going to cut out everybody who doesn't have back pain. Guess who we're not talking to if we're selling back pain medication? People who don't have back pain. You want to enter the conversation that's already going on in your prospect's mind. Now tell me this, ladies and gentlemen, how many of you think that your average Joe Schmo who's just trying to get by, who watches the drive-by media, who catches the highlights on TV, who thinks that they've got an opinion about the way the world works, but really has no clue what's happening around them. How many of you think that in the back of their mind, they're having a debate about how we build privatized roads? Anyone? You're nuts if you think that. That's not what they're doing. They're having they're regurgitating the conversation that they're hearing on TV about Hillary Clinton, about the feud between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, about the National Review's recent article about Donald Trump and the infighting that's going on there. Those are the conversations that they're having. They're having the conversation about equal pay for equal work. There's no highbrow going on. That's left to the intellectuals in higher education, those people at think tanks like the Cato Institute. It's not to say that those are bad places, that they're not. They're fantastic. We have to have people like that in the movement. But what we need even more are people who can make a compelling case and can enter the conversation that our prospects are having in their own mind. That's what this show is about. I don't spend a lot of time talking about that. We're going to talk a little bit today about the guy who got picked up by the North Koreans. Why? Because other people are talking about it. Because it's important to understand and to be able to articulate how we feel as libertarians about that specific issue, so that when you go out into your daily life and other people are having that conversation, guess what? Not only can you get involved with that conversation, but you can begin to shift the hearts and the minds of the people you're talking to. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how we win. That is how you grow a movement. Not by having some philosophical highbrow argument or discussion about how you solve the problems in the world. That's a fool's errand. There will be a time when we're in a position where we can start having those conversations. God willing, there is a time when we have liberated this country and returned power to the people. When we're at a place where we can decide for ourselves, you know what? You think we should privatize some of these roads? You think we ought to give that a try? Maybe have a little city do it, or maybe that little municipality. Maybe we have a couple test cases, got a couple of people who are willing to give it a shot, see how it works. Maybe we can figure out what we think will work and whether or not it really will work or not. Kind of make some adjustments, see if we could free up a little bit more. Provide a little more liberty. I would love to be in a place where we can do that. Guys, we're not even close. We're not even close. We're not even in the conversation. And most of the time, the reason we're not in the conversation is because the average day American isn't thinking about the things that libertarians are thinking about. They're not concerned about that. And what I love about the private Facebook group, and what I love about what you guys are doing, if you want to join the Facebook group, just go to jasonstapleton.com/Facebook, and that will take you to the private Facebook group. You can join from there. What I love about that group is this is what we're constantly hearing in there. Hey, somebody help me out with this. I'm talking to this progressive, and this is the argument that he's coming back to me with. How do I have the discussion with him? How do I begin to move him to a place where where my argument has merit? Or you hear somebody that says, hey, help me out with my logic here. This is what I'm thinking. How does this jive with the libertarian idea? How does this mesh with liberty and the principles that we talk about? It's a place where you can come and have a community, where you can feel free to share and vent and meet other people who know and believe the same types of things that you believe, and where you can arm yourself with information above and beyond this show. I've really been amazed at what's been created there, haven't you?
It's fascinating.
Right?
I had to laugh last night because you talked about having a place of community and where people could share and not be judged and that type of thing. And I saw one of the feeds as it was coming through last night. Somebody started and they're like, Hey, talk about maybe some of your past political actions or thoughts that you're kind of ashamed to admit right now. And it became like this like AA session where they're like, "Hi, my name's Darren. Uh,
I'm a former Obama voter.
I used to be a McCain supporter. I was in a it was a dark place in my life, and I just want to. I found my way out. I'm feeling
Feel
really good. I've been neocon free for 2 years now.
No, it's great, and they've got, I was reading some of them, and they're like, yeah, I voted for Obama in 2008, and I was drinking the Kool-Aid, and I've come so far since then, and I love being in the group. But you're right, it's become a really strong community of people, and every once in a while we find some scumbag like that guy Sean Ryan that had to get booted out last night. But we keep it, when we identify those people who are just there to cause trouble, we invite them to leave. But I'll read for you just very brief. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's long, but let me explain. Let me read this to you, and as evidence for kind of my philosophy on how to do this, because we're having the effect that I want to have. We're reaching the kind of people that I want to reach. And if you're a libertarian, as I've said before, you are an anchor of this show, but you're not the target audience. You're going to be here no matter what. I'm not here to scratch your back and tell you what you already know. Many of you who come and listen to this show come here just to be energized, just to hear someone talk about the things that you believe in. But there's a whole other group of people. That's the group of people that we're trying to reach. And I'm going to read this just very quickly to you. This is from iTunes. I ask you guys to go and leave me a rating and review. A lot of it has to do with feedback for me. It lets me know who you are, where you come from, how you came in touch with the show, and it lets other people hear your story. And this is this guy's story. It says, I have been listening to Jason for about 4 months now, but it seems like much longer. I don't think
Is that a compliment?
I could take that. I'm going to assume that's a compliment. It seems like I've been married for 10 years, but it feels like 50. And I really don't know Laura. That's not what I'm saying. She's listening. She listens to the show every day. She's going to text me. You watch. Here it comes. She's already texting. Sorry. It says, but it seems like much longer. And I really don't know where to begin. I came across this podcast one day on iTunes while searching for a way to broaden my knowledge on politics. Admittedly, when I found Jason and his podcast, I was on the fence between neoconservatism and libertarian. Now, there's a wide gap there, but I understand what he was searching in the same way I was. He's in this neoconservative camp. He knows he doesn't agree with everything. He thinks there's got to be a better way, and he goes out in search of knowledge and information to try and help him understand better politics and economics. He said, within a week, my mind had been made up, and I haven't looked back. Jason has broadened my knowledge immensely, and not just politically either. Be it economics, finance, politics, or business, I have gained a vast amount of information and knowledge since I began listening to him. Yep, there she is. My wife.
Called it.
She said, I love you. I love you too, sweetie. I'll just stop right there. It's not, you can go read it if you're really that interested, but here's a guy. He's exactly the guy that I'm trying to reach. He's exactly the guy that we need. We need that guy who's looking at the Republican primaries right now going, what? Rand Paul's not even an idea in his head because he hasn't gone that far down to even give that consideration. But he knows when he looks at Trump, when he looks at Cruz, when he looks at Rubio, he looks at those guys and he's just like, nah, that ain't it. That ain't what I need. He looks at Sanders, he looks at Hillary, and he says, is this it? Is this the best America has to offer? Is this my choice? No, there's got to be a better way. He's out there and he's hungry. And I think the move, as I've said before, I think the move to this independence, this move away from Republican and Democrat into the middle, is simply a desire by most people to find the third way. We have an opportunity to be that, whether it be directly through the Libertarian Party or otherwise. I was having a chat last night. The head of the Libertarian Party in New Jersey called me last night, and we had a nice long chat about what we're doing. And he said, man, I just wanted to call and tell you that I've been watching your show and I love what you're doing. I believe 100% in the idea that libertarians have a messaging problem and the Libertarian Party has some messaging problems. And I can't say enough. Keep doing what you're doing. It was basically just a call of support to say, hey, please continue doing what you're doing. We're working hard here to try and do the types of things that you're advocating for. We're trying to make the changes. And that was inspiring to me because it let me know, because for a long time I felt like, the Libertarian Party just didn't care about messaging. They just really didn't give a rip. They were going to work on trying to get on ballots and just, spend their time in a fruitless attempt to get on ballots where they would never win anything. But to hear him talk about it with such passion, to hear him talk about the things that they're doing in New Jersey and how he's working to achieve the very same goals that I'm advocating for, and that he's supportive of what we're doing on the show, that was inspiring to me, that we're starting to have an impact, not just outside the party, but inside the party. We're starting to move people and starting to wake people up to understanding how you message, how you get the word out. And again, I know I'm going to have people who are complaining that I'm sitting here talking about my show and spending days talking about my show, but guess what? It's free and you don't have to listen. This is important stuff. How we message, why we message, who we message to, and when is critical. Don't ever forget that. And don't think what we need is another intellectual discussion about how to create a society. What we need are everyday people who know and understand the fundamental principles of liberty and who can articulate those no matter what the circumstance, no matter where they are. Didn't we have a young gal who said, or was it a guy who said, I used to be an introvert. Were you reading that to me the other day? I used to be an introvert. I didn't ever talk about it, but now.
Oh yeah, they went out and shared it.
Yeah, they
and
went out
already
and
drew I think it was a girl that she said she had shared it with 5 people and 2 people have already come to the show and
Right.
subscribed. Yeah.
Right. And that's great. I love the fact that you guys are sharing the show and that people are coming and listening because of you. I need you to do that in order for us to continue to grow. That's the number one way we're going to be able to grow, is through you guys spreading the word. But more importantly, what makes me even more excited is you've got someone who didn't feel confident enough to even speak up. And now not only is she speaking up and sharing it, but she's sharing it with everybody, with multiple people, and she's having a positive effect. People are going and listening. People are starting to drink the Kool-Aid. My sinister plan to one day take over the world and leave you all alone is coming to fruition. And I'm very, very excited to be part of it with you and to be leading you to that end. So thank you for being part of this every single day.